Good morning, online batch. So as all of you know, we have recently started discussing about ethics, right? So don't assume these are ethics classes. I haven't even started what is ethics. So whatever I'm teaching is not even ethics. Okay. So I'm just giving you the mindset or basic introduction on what is to be expected from ethics, or what is your mindset, or what should be your mindset. So slowly we will enter into the classes. As again, I have said, first chapter, ethics and human interface. That is the most important chapter of all the chapters, in my personal opinion. The rest all is extension and application of the same things, okay, at various levels. Then we will enter case studies. Without preparing part A, part B can never be addressed properly. So part A is the most important thing. Always remember that no matter what people say, even all the ethics case studies flow from the terminology of part B. Okay. So today we will try to understand what is the importance of each and every chapter and how UPSC syllabus was arranged. Also, all of you have DK Balaji, I assume, right? At least some of you have access to it, right? So ethics and human interference. Before that, I told you there is a separate chapter in DK Balaji, which is theory of ethics, meta ethics, yes, deterministic theories, and all those things. The importance of that particular chapter is how historically ethics have evolved. How historically ethics have evolved. If you look at your optional subjects, okay, part A or part 1 of most of your optionals have theory, right? According to whom, what is political science? According to X, what, Y, D, Z, right? So different theories. In the same way, that 7th chapter in the ethics also will tell you what is ethics. For example, utilitarianism. Okay, the most famous case is utilitarianism. Maximum good for maximum people, or maximum happiness of maximum people. So it is there in Mahabharata. Okay, so Mahabharata says the same thing, right? Jeremy Bentham says the same thing. Everybody will say the same thing, that means is not important, ends are very important. Such kind of things will be taught to you in that particular chapter. Okay, again, that is from his frame of mind. That is from his frame of mind. His frame of mind says means is not important, ends are very important. The outcomes are very important, and you can take certain case scenarios. For example, there is a terrorist. Okay, there is a terrorist. If you kill 10 people along with the terrorist in a building, the entire city will be safe. What will you do? Obviously, there are, say, let's imagine Sumant is a terrorist here. America have discovered that Sumant is a terrorist. If you don't kill Sumant in this building right now, entire Hyderabad will be blown up. Okay, so should we kill all of us ourselves along with Sumant so that we can save the city, or should we not kill the rest of the innocents? Okay, so that's a decision. Yes or no? All of us will be collateral damage where Sumant is the actual target. Okay, so what will you say? Saving 1 crore lives for 10 people. Is it okay? Okay, happy to serve Hyderabad, our country? No? No, sorry? The most valuable death ever. Okay, now imagine you are a military officer. Okay, you are the army head or the prime minister of this country. You came to know that Sumant is a terrorist and Sumant is with your family members, your loved ones. Okay, so if you have to kill him, kill the terrorist, okay, along with your own family members, will you still take that call? It becomes a bit complicated, right? So the more the layers we add, see, again, as I said, luckily for us, we don't want to solve ethical puzzles. This is not philosophy class nor ethics for philosophy case. Okay, this is purely for UPSC. So ethical puzzles are not important for us. Just understanding there is a concept called, okay, that's all you need to do. Okay, ethical puzzles are good for philosophy. If your optional is philosophy, or if you want to persuade ethics as a career, something else, then you can solve as many ethics puzzles as possible. But luckily for us, these are all applied ethics, real life scenarios. Okay, America will do a drone strike. Okay, America will do a drone strike. A truck is carrying some innocents and a terrorist. If we don't kill the terrorist then and there, okay, along with some innocents, right? Definitely he will never face again. I mean, he won't come into the ground again. He will be somewhere hidden for few more years and he will continue the terrorist activities. So killing few innocents along with the terrorist is the most rational call in that particular moment. But aren't you playing God? Yes or no? Who gave you the right to kill others? They don't even know that he is a terrorist. If they are willingly traveling with him, knowing that he is a terrorist, being innocent, that is something acceptable. They are also kind of terrorists. Why? You are shielding a terrorist. But I am traveling in a bus. I don't even know that he is a terrorist. What is my fault? Yes or no? So all such complicated theory comes into the picture. Yes. So that is one way to look at the things. Then there is one more theory, Kant, categorical imperative. Immanuel Kant. He says means are as important as ends. You cannot treat a human being as a means. That means killing of innocent person is a wrong. So means and outcome. That means I should kill the terrorist, but I should not kill the innocent. So that is a very, very difficult line to thread. For example, he says, don't lie. Okay, so Umang is very angry on Kirtana. Umang wants to kill Kirtana. Kirtana is hiding in that office room. So not lying is a option. Utilitarianism says what? Saving the life of a person is important. Ends are very, very important. So if she comes to me and asks, I want to kill Umang, where is Umang? I will say for the happiness of greater good. For greater good, I will say, I don't know, probably she went into kitchen. So I might save a life. But Kant says, you cannot lie. That's a stand. So if Umang comes to me and asks, where is Kirtana? I cannot lie. I should not lie. She is hiding there. Go and kill her. Okay. Yes. So that is one stand. Ends and means. Okay. That is also a theory with a lot of flaws. Yes or no? See, utilitarianism, that means greater good for greater happiness. Okay. Or maximum happiness for maximum number of people. That has its own flaws under certain scenarios. This also has certain flaws under certain scenarios. I hope you understand. Then they come to a consensus, or then they evolve a theory called as golden mean. Golden mean means don't do to others what you should not, what you don't want others to do to you. Okay, don't do to others what you don't want others to do to you. So that is a golden line or golden rule. Okay, so if Umang does not want to be killed, Umang should also not kill someone. Yes or no? If you don't want somebody to shout on you, you should also develop the same process that I should not shout on someone else. Like this, theories keep on evolving, right? So ethics keeps on evolving just like the society civilization. Okay, all the Aristotle ethics or all other kind of ethics won't teach you how to deal with social media. You can apply that knowledge looking from maximum benefit point of view. How will I look at? Okay, so you must have seen the movie Dasavataram. Yes or no? Dasavataram is a movie. Kamal Hassan. So he takes the chaos theory as a benchmark. Okay, in the end, he justifies the tsunami by saying, if tsunami was not there, the salt water was not there, that virus could have killed more people. I hope you remember, right? At the climax of the movie, there is this virus which will destroy a lot of population, and the only cure is salt water or ocean water. So tsunami came as a divine intervention which killed lakhs of people. But if tsunami was not there, probably it would have killed even more people. So the world is saved even through harshness. So something like that. Our COVID is a lesson to the humanity to change its ways. So if you look at perspectives, religions and other things, then you get the idea, right? So ethics keep on evolving. There is no final version of ethics, and you cannot apply only one theory to all the case studies. Depending on the situation, your answers will keep on evolving. But there will be some universal standards. The other day, near universal accepted standards are what we call as ethics. Okay, so more or less, even if the privacy issue and all those things, we come to the consensus, right? Doctrine of proportionality, and something so on and so forth. So like this, you will hear some theory, what Aristotle has said, what Plato has said. Okay, what is their stand? Then how theories evolve, theory A, theory B, theory C. What is the modern day theories? Okay, and you have new age philosophers like Peter Singer, Michael Sandel. Yes, these are also new age philosophers. What is their stand? For example, Peter Singer takes a different stand on animal ethics. Okay, so even animals have ethics. I mean, the treatment of animals should also have ethical standards. So how do we apply that? Okay, so this is one way to understand ethics. Okay, that chapter will teach you what was the benchmark, or what is the benchmark, or what does the normal theory says. Then comes your rules and regulations. So so in the first chapter itself, they have some concepts like essence. What do you mean by essence? Okay, essence is what is essence in normal sense?
Yeah, core idea.
What we in simple parlance say flavor. Yes, gist, essence. Again, essence is essence, right? Summary, right? You all of you understand essence. What is ethics in understanding part? Okay. Then they say determinants of determinant. This is one. Number two is consequences. What are determinants of ethics? Here you will learn like what are the benchmarks for ethics. As the other day I was saying, for example, how did we arrive to the conclusion that this is ethics? Values, morals, and ethics. So what are the factors that finalize it by saying, you know, this can be elevated to the status of ethics? How did these can be considered universal values? So what are the factors that play a role in the consequence? Thinking it cannot be judged. Only when you put it actions will be judged. Thought ethic, thinking process. Only when it right. Me. Public. I mean, society, organization of individual, I have my personal life, I'm work organization, I have values of that organization, and then I also belong to a society. So for example, I'm a Hindu. Okay, I will have my own culture, family obligation. So when they my loyalty system, do my loyalties. The best example is the DGP of Sabarimala, Kerala, right? That particular area. From the same part that people should variables. And then in ethics, one more thing is empathy, compassion. Okay, compassion is empathy. Empathy. If you what you so this is the system. How did the life of great Savitribai Phule, Jyotish, we'll say Madhyama Marga. Yes, then the eightfold path of Dharma. So all this is mechanistic answer. Okay, that means writing just said Buddha said middle path is one thing. Imbibing the value system of middle path is more important. Okay, the essence lies in imbibing the middle path. So middle path is very easy. I have to take middle path. Why are you also how won't fetch mere decoration is not going to get marks. Using keywords are also not going to get you marks. Examiner will exactly know whether you understand the key is a major difference. I hope you understand. The difference is not using that word. For example, saying Sarvadharma Samabhava. So it's one paper where bluffing is very, very difficult. It's very evident why you are writing. The value system will be as plain as okay. Type the values. Take off. Okay. are okay. So why you only equality? Identification. That is why. Like this person goes to that school. Okay. Hmm. That is marketing. Okay. Discipline. To learn discipline. Okay. What is the equivalent Telugu idiom to uniformity? Why do they make you wear uniform in the schools? Mhm.
Child wearing a better dress is not bullying someone.
Okay. Do you think we are that socially conscious? Mhm. This bullying happens even in school uniform. It happens. Your is a little bit darker, muddy, or have a lot of holes. Yes.
It ensures that the moment the child will wear the uniform,
Hmm.
he will be like conscious, okay, I'm going to this
Hmm.
school.
Or else he will go to wrong school.
Like a sense of seriousness will be automatically imbibed in him the moment he like
Think. I don't know what you are trying to say, but think about it. Yes.
if a police officer wears a police dress, what will happen? Immediately he'll get on the service. Like if in the leisure dress or something else, he'll be like different. If he is wearing police uniform and that will be impact on his mind. There is how it should perform. There is how the duties are.
School they say equals to say other equal irrespective of the economic status, financial status.
Equality. Okay. Anything else? Okay. What else? What else have the schools taught you? Equality. Okay. Do you practice that in your real life?
More or less.
More or less, schools have taught you equality. Fantastic. Anything else? Something that your school actually has made you like. I know because of my school, this is my trait. This is my value system. I think, or probably I act like this because of my school only.
The root of respect. Public interest or self-interest.
The root of respect to God. Okay.
Public interest or self-interest.
Public interest over self-interest is taught to you by your school. How?
Right from morning prayer to various. It was mandatory for us to either be in scouts or guides or NCC or any other voluntary thing, and most of the projects we did was to
Social good.
for social good. So 3 days or 4 days in a week, I mean, I can say 4 to 5 hours in a week, we'll dedicate that to public
good.
interest. And every day while we go out of our school, it's written on the wall that go out and serve your countrymen. It's there every day.
Every
we see
day
that.
it is imbibed in you. Okay.
Yes.
Your school have taught you compassion. How?
Like they used to tell us to bring one more packet of rice.
Hmm.
Those who are poor,
Hmm.
it's not in school
Hmm.
to distribute the road who resides in road sides, who begs like that.
Mhm. Okay, so your school has promoted that social welfare again. Very nice. Yes.
Dignity.
Dignity.
I mean, to be on time.
Punctuality. Okay. Yes, Maruti. Discipline only. Equality also. Okay.
Every time there's an exam, the night before it starts working. But now it's like
Okay. No positive things. You need some time. Yes.
I learned secularism.
Secularism from your school. How?
They used to take me to Gurudwara
Mhm.
and important to teach what is Sikhism and all.
Okay.
They used to celebrate every festival.
Okay. So.
Even this was there in our
And our prayer was also secular prayers.
Okay. Your prayers are also secular prayers. Okay. Praying all religions is secularism. Okay. Fine. Yes. You said. Now you recollect.
That is because of me.
Because of your school.
I've learned one entire one of it.
Okay. So your school has. Okay. Punctuality. Discipline. In what sense? Yes.
Your close
Mm-hmm.
and making a punctual time
Mm-hmm.
for the classes, helping to others.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Lavanya.
What I learned is I not make sound and I can't bear sound.
In school.
Not school, sir.
Mm.
So my
She's indirectly telling me don't ask question. I don't like her.
Not
Oh, I understood. Okay, very smart. Sound pollution.
sound pollution.
Yes. Questions are sound pollution, sir. Okay. What else?
My principal is
Okay. NCC and you are NCC candidate. No. Then discipline, serious discipline, and all those things. Yes.
Like getting the elders or teacher comes.
Discipline. Okay. Respect for elders.
My school was mainly focused on academics as well. They really don't
Bother about all these things.
I used to go to school at 6. Like 9 or 10.
Evening. Okay. Morning to evening studies. No activity, no play, nothing. But still, it must have taught you something. How not to be a good school. That is also something that you learned, right? Okay.
also in my school,
Hmm.
I mean, where this academic culture prevails,
Hmm.
our school was giving importance to, like, they'll celebrate the sports people also. They'll celebrate who speak well. They celebrate who are good at academics.
Hmm.
They celebrate who sings well.
Hmm.
So they don't they didn't define. Yes, this is the only road you have to take. So when I left school and when I started reading Bhagavad Gita, he says karma yoga, dhyana. It's you can pursue anything. Ultimate goal is that. So in a culture in society which is prevalent, that yes, academics, IIT, medicine, doctor. This was prevalent. In my school, everyone were equally celebrated. So when in intermediate, when I went to a corporate college, there the mindset was very narrow. Either you have to
Your school probably have a college.
either you have to be very good at academics or fit for nothing.
Okay.
So this kind of mindset was
There for.
yes,
Yes.
even in students also.
So what did Dhanvantri teach you?
Um,
Bouncer question.
Nothing bouncer as such, sir.
Just going for like
What?
adjustment for like.
Excellence, I can say.
Dhanvantri.
I can, yes, sir.
Okay. This institute only.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes, Bhuvishri, what did you learn after your UPSC preparation journey? Education institute, right? This is also technically one kind of educational institute. So what did we teach you like here? No patronage. You have to think. Okay, who will answer? Lavanya? Sound pollution. Soundproof rooms we will construct. I will tell Ram sir. Yes. Same question. After your UPSC journey, not only Dhanvantri, in general, what did you learn from UPSC journey? It's very difficult.
People from different
Background. Okay.
mainly people who teach
Okay. So yeah.
thought process is different than what I have been in.
Okay.
I was out of my town for the first time.
Okay. UPSC journey.
I have brought out who I was some 6 years back.
Okay.
I was something in 10th.
Okay.
Again, I could see that
10th class.
character of mine
Okay.
that I lost.
Yes, we can also see the same thing. Yes. You're thinking.
Sir, before UPSC,
Huh.
just I didn't say anything, sir. But after UPSC, I'm seeing society as in UPSC perspective.
Society in UPSC perspective only. So don't you think it's a narrow thought process, like only for UPSC? After UPSC again, you won't. Maybe you won't see the society again.
By getting the service, I can see.
Okay. So what he wanted to convey is he is able to be himself. He is not artificial any longer. That is what in.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
You are being yourself.
I could see myself after so many years.
Yes.
Like I was lost somewhere so many years away.
Good. Inform that to Ram sir as well. Like he will be happy that somebody is able to find himself.
Because of the company or the way this organization, food culture or anything.
Okay. Yes, Santosh, you need time? 2 minutes. Okay. Your time starts now. I won't leave anyone. Yes, Lavanya?
Importance of time
Importance of time.
and what I want to do. Regulating my sleeping hours.
Okay. Discipline, NCC, military, all that gone?
All that gone in India, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now again back. Kirtana?
So before I'm coming here, I don't know what is in my UPSC. After I met something like Ruby and Narayan, these people, I motivated myself and I'm started my reading with consistency.
Okay. They are not things, they are human beings. Okay. Yes.
They encourage me a lot and they are motivating me.
Yes. Very
Stay in
nice.
UPSC.
So you are finding genuine friends. Something like that. Not sure.
No.
There. Umang,
Binary approach should not be followed
Binary.
anywhere, even in
life.
There should be a rational thinking towards why yes and why no.
So that is something that you learned from UPSC. Okay,
It's
Martin,
in classes.
in classes.
Before UPSC, I can't. After this one, how do you have a future?
Okay, you're thinking about future. Yes. Okay.
And how to speak in society?
How to speak in society. Okay. Nice. Yes. Yes.
I developed a lot of confidence.
Okay. Because of.
All the new things I started.
Okay.
I feel very confident.
Well, okay.
Before this, I feel like very much done.
Mhm.
But I feel like I'm little done.
You're smart. Hmm. The more I learn, the more I realize that less I know. Hmm. That you.
Like the subject knowledge was only revolving around us,
Hmm.
not the societal knowledge.
Hmm.
So EVS is what that is as
Okay. Yes, 2 minutes up. Hmm.
Time management.
Hmm.
How to be like how to behave in society.
Hmm.
Recently, I have completed my up to graduation in my only in my surroundings only.
Hmm.
So I did not came outside.
Hmm.
It's the first time that I came without.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I learned that how to behave in society and how to make that which category they should given for people. Some people they get some high, some people will get low. Like that time management.
Okay. Yes. Last two.
Once the mind expands, you can't
Think
come
back. That is something that you have experienced.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm giving the form, I mean, what I already know.
Hmm.
I'm learning to give a form that the world can understand also. Like I knew things before. I feel I know them, but in before coming here, I was struggling to express what I know in exactly. I mean, I have a version called A. Then when I try to convey it, it becomes B. So that gap I'm bridging and I'm able to convey what I want to exactly.
So whatever all of you are going through is called as socialization, right? Proper socialization. So whatever you are trying to express, whether in school, family, friends, peers, contemporaries, that entire process is called as socialization. Socialization is a very, very important determinant of your morals, characters, and value system. Okay, so that's a very important thing that you will learn in this particular chapter, inculcating values. How did you inculcate values? Socialization, right? So that is exactly what he's trying to say, right? He knows something, but we don't know the technical terminology for it or how to convey to the other person. So whatever you have learned, your schools have taught you prayers. So you have imbibed a value system. You must have friends from all religions in your school. Most of the times you have friends from all religions in your school. You don't mingle with them because of XYZ caste, religion, creed, or whatever. You are friends with him because he's your friend. He might be topper of the class or he might be the last in the class. Still, you will treat all of them equally unless you are a brainwashed person. Okay, in school, if you have treated someone based on their scores, probably the society has got to you at a very, very, very early age. But if you have treated everyone from the topper to the last man in the line equally, then the system did not affect you. So that is a proper socialization. As he was mentioning, your friend is good at sports, someone else is good in singing, someone else is good in painting, right? Someone else is good in something else. So you treat them for who they are rather than for what they should be. Okay, so schools are supposed to be that nurturing places which will treat us that equality, socialization. We not only learn from books, we learn a lot even in the breaks, how to share food. Yes or no? So probably if you are totally into that, corporate culture of studying, study. Yes, even in the breaks, you learn a lot of things, how to share, what to train, think. Your friends will inspire you subconsciously. You don't even know why you're getting inspired, but you want to be like them. So all that leadership qualities, everything will come out in the schools. Schools and education system have a lot of importance. Yes, socialization. The next one is attitude. All of you know attitude, right? You must use it 10 times a day. Attitude, don't show attitude. Your attitude, I don't like. Attitude is by slogans you'll write. Attitude is life. Yes. So you write a lot of things on the bikes. So social. So attitude is a very important chapter, especially for a public servant. Okay. And then this is a very important chapter, social influence and Persuasion. All of you know the meaning of persuasion, right? What is persuasion?
Convincing, nudging someone to
Hmm.
get the
Persuade
thing
is
done.
to keep pushing something till you get it done. So persuade, to persuade someone till the last minute. So persuasion, how will you do persuasion, and how you will link emotional intelligence to persuasion can also be learned there. Attitude is a very, very important chapter. Now till here it's more about individuals. Okay, till the first 3 chapters can be more or less for individuals, that value system, that understanding human values, ethics and attitude. It's all about the value system. Then comes application into civil services. This is civil services. From this point onwards, he wants to test you on the basis of civil servant value, because a bureaucrat should have all this, right? What are the qualities of civil services? Why integrity is very important? Okay, actually integrity means doing something even when nobody is watching you. Okay, so integrity is a very, very powerful thing. It's a character. So how does character develop? Character develops from the first 3 chapters, right? See, just because you are an IAS officer, you don't become integrity, right? You don't develop integrity. You already had the integrity because of your school, education, family, value systems, and books you have read. So all the socialization has promoted honesty and integrity in you. In public service, you are getting a chance to showcase it, right? For a normal person, let's say Umang have a lot of integrity, but she is not an IAS officer, so we won't test the level to which her integrity will. But make her an IAS officer and give her 100 crores to distribute for the welfare purposes. That is when our integrity is tested. Yes or no? I have integrity. To what extent? 1 crore? 10 crore? But if I see 100 crores without any accountability, will I still maintain that integrity? As Chanakya says, we will never know whether a fish in the water is drinking the water or not. Yes or no? So if she is having 100 crores of money, if she siphons off 1 or 2 lakh rupees, who will notice? Right? She can do that. But is she doing that? If not, why? What is preventing her? Rules or regulations? CCTV cameras? Accounts? Or her own moral conscience? Is her moral compass correct? Why? If I put all the external pressure also, still she can do corruption if she wants to do corruption. Yes. So no external mechanism can stop you from doing something wrong unless your moral compass is correct. Yes. If your moral compass is correct, you don't need a single external pressure also. Think about it. If your moral compass is correct, moral means that means from internally you are 100% correct. Okay. You don't need CCTV cameras. You don't need account books. You will exactly use each and every single penny for the right purposes. Clear? Think about it. If I have CCTV camera, still I can do corruption. Yes. See, corruption is in 10,000 formats. One day I went to this, I saw this bike registration. Okay. So you're supposed to stencil the bike number. An engine number has to be stenciled. That means your engine number has to be stenciled on a copy paper. Okay. For my bike, it is in the U shape, like it's in the depth. I cannot stencil it. So then the person there told me you have to go to that specific Photoshop and get the photocopy. Okay, why? Probably he will get some commission out of every photo. That is a corruption, but you cannot prove it. See, I can take it from my mobile and get a printout, right? 2 rupees. No, you have to go to that Photoshop near that particular institution and the charge is 50 rupees. For a 2 rupee work, I'm spending 50 rupees. Okay, out of that 50 rupees, somebody will get some share. Okay, that is the smallest corruption. But can I prove in any rule book that it is corruption? No, right? I mean, it's a different form of corruption. Moral corruption will be there. You haven't done something or you have delayed something. Corruption in kind, omission, commission. So all these are different kinds of things. So all these things can be stopped only when your moral compass is correct, not with external pressures. So that is why UPSC has introduced this syllabus line. At least before entering into the service, even if one person who is entering into the service knows why he is learning all these things. Okay, probably he might continue the same value system. Yes or no? See, the temptation of power and money is something that has to be experienced. All the words like honesty, integrity, values, ethics are good for marks. Okay, but when you face that situation, will you be able to resist yourself? That's a difficult challenge. If a minister calls and says, you have to give my brother-in-law that job, or else I will transfer you to the worst possible office. Do you have the courage to say, do whatever you want to do and put the phone? Okay, sir, it's okay, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. That might be, if that is your reaction, then your character is weak. Your answer writing is good, but your character is weak. You are the ethics topper, 150 in ethics paper. But in reality, yes, sir, yes, sir. Why? You're afraid to work in an archives department. You're afraid to work in archaeological departments. All these are called as punishment postings. Yes or no? All these are called as punishment postings. So are you willing to sacrifice your comfort for your honesty? Or are you willing to sacrifice your comfort again for integrity? Clear? So that is tested only when you do things in the real life. Okay. Impartiality, partisanship, objective, dedication to public services, empathy, tolerance, compassion to weaker sections. See, there are really wonderful young IAS officers. When I have started my preparation, every year we see the names, right? Who is the topper, top 10, top 20. When we see the newspapers right now, okay, most of them are from the batches that I have seen in my own life, right? Even the Ananya Das in your DK Balaji book. Okay, so all these people are very young IAS officers, young IPS officers. So that means there is definitely a generation of bureaucrats who believe in technology plus value systems. Okay, not like the traditional system. Every batch will have a lot of good officers. Okay, we don't know their stories. We don't inquire into their stories, but there are a lot of good people working at fantastic job, doing a fantastic job in the society. We have to find those stories and find their courage also. For example, the most famous name is Ashok Khemka.
Yes.
Ashok Khemka is transferred for more than 50 times. Okay, he's very famous. There is one more officer who was transferred even more than Ashok Khemka. He's not in the limelight as much as Ashok Khemka, but there are few good IAS officers who have been transferred more than 50 times. If someone is transferring for you more than 50 times and you're still alive, unable to do your job, that means, as the other day we have seen, municipal commissioner will only get the threat. Nothing will happen in the real life. But do you have the courage to get transferred that many times? So it's saying, right, nobody can be that honest. There are some people who are that honest and the system is still maintaining them. Right? And actually system needs more such officers. Okay. So one Ashok Khemka might inspire others. So that is a value system. Empathy, tolerance, why compassion towards the weaker sections is very, very important. Again, as I said, application is more important rather than theoretical understanding. The word honesty, integrity, it will take me 10 seconds to explain the difference. If there is a 1 lakh rupee lying, there is a CCTV camera. That is why you are not taking the 1 lakh rupee. That is honesty. Honesty is an external way to put to make you do the right things. Even if there is no CCTV camera, if you are not taking the 1 lakh rupee, that is integrity. Honesty and integrity. Integrity comes from internally. Honesty comes from external pressure. Honesty can be coming from internally also, but it can be persuaded. It can be changed very easily. But integrity is something which you do even if nobody is watching. What is there to explain? 2 lines, 10 seconds, done. But application is very, very important. Okay, this is an important topic. Emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, again, this is a very simple concept. Emotional intelligence means, what do you understand by the term generally, like without any knowledge? What do you think? Controlling one's own feelings. Okay. Especially for administration and governance. Especially for administration and governance. Emotional intelligence for what? For administration and for governance purposes. So Emotional intelligence is not only knowing my emotions, it is also knowing the emotion in the room and reading between the lines. Okay, let's say Umang is a farm leader. She is protesting for the farmers. She is very angry. So the moment I enter into the room, I should understand her body language. I should understand the words she is speaking, not the vocabulary, the tone that she is trying to say. So she is very angry. She is upset. Okay, I should be able to understand her state of mind. Then I accordingly have to, respect her, persuade her, and calm her down, and then, make her do the things I want to do. Like for example, withdraw the farmers' protest. That is called as basic emotional intelligence. She is already very angry and irritated. I cannot come and start with saying, farmers are useless. That will only make her even more angrier. So that ability to control your own emotions, anger, and make things or get things done is called as emotional intelligence. And especially for what? Governance and administration. For example, your boss will call you. Sumant is my subordinate. I am my boss. My boss has called me and he has shouted on me left, right, and center. Okay, because some things are not getting done. I will put my phone down and I will transfer that energy to Sumant. Then what will happen? The entire department will be losing the morale. But emotional intelligence is that maturity where I will stop this heat, anger till the phone, and I will talk to him as if nothing has happened. Okay, so that ability to control your own emotions within split seconds and getting things done is more important. Just because my superior lost cool, that does not mean I should also lose my temper. Okay, as an administrator, you will be irritated 10,000 times a day. Okay, emotional intelligence plays a huge amount of role in the thing. You have to shout on someone in the right tone, right way. Anger in the right tone, in the right level, and on the right person using the right words. That is one way to understand emotional intelligence. You have to shout on them, but you should shout in the right words. You have to shout only within the limitations. You have to shout only in the legal bounds. You have to do all those things and still get things done. That balance is emotional intelligence. Reading the room, ability to read the room like a book is emotional intelligence. And people with higher emotional intelligences will also have higher IQ, synonym, right? And at the same time, they will get things done. They're also good leaders. A person without emotional intelligence will never be a good leader. That is why emotional intelligence is taught to you in the ethics classes. Okay, at least for case study's sake, we can use all these things, because in reality, that is not how we do, right? We will always shout, or we will transfer our frustrations on different people. Okay. Sorry. Yes. Contributions of moral thinkers, philosophers, and from India and world. That is also very important chapter. Okay, so this will help you in essay writing also. Whatever you learn in moral thinkers, philosophers, and leaders teachings, the same you can also apply in essay paper and GS paper 1 society also. For example, secularism, when you write an answer about secularism, you can also write how Bhakti science influenced Sufism or secularism. They have brought in the good values of all the religions. There is a essay topic, right? True religion cannot be misused. True religion cannot be misused. You can use the same knowledge there also. So essay, ethics go hand in hand. Whatever you learn here can also be used elsewhere. So be very careful when you invest time on these particular chapters. Next. Again, as I said, ethics paper is divided into 3 levels. One is individual, public service, and society. These are the 3 benchmarks that you write in the answers. So your case studies are either about individuals, public, or society. Public here is public servant and governance, or administration. As an IAS officer, what will you do? As a public servant, what will you do? As a government, what will you do? Or as a governance, how will you promote the governance there? So questions are about individual value system, governance value system, or society based. Okay, so everything will overlap with everything else. If you are a good IAS officer, you will do good to both your organization and to society also. If you are a corrupt individual, you are hurting yourself, the organization, and society. All three are interlinked. One cannot be part of another. Society, organization, individual, interlink. Okay, so don't think you not being honest will not change anything. You not being honest will have a lot of impact in the society or in departments. Just imagine an SP who is corrupt. When a superintendent of police is corrupt, what will happen? The entire department will be lethargic, or the entire department can also be spoiled. Automatically, law and order will be affected. Lot of things can happen. Yes, that is just an example. So again, here, as I have mentioned, ethics in public administration. Okay, ethics in public administration. So here the major things are rules and regulation. The major things are rules and regulation. See, you cannot say I will get the hospital beds. As I told you yesterday, I cannot do this, do that. You are an individual who is bound by rules and regulations. So you are an IAS officer. That does not make you God. You cannot, do this and give gold chains. Yes or no? You are not Baba. Okay, so you are bound by rules and regulations. You can only get things done within your limited capacity. So that is the most important thing. So what is your ultimate goal? Welfare maximization. So society's welfare is your core objective. Whatever you do it for the welfare of the society. That value system comes from compassion, empathy, sympathy. So you are doing it for the society, you are doing it for the right reasons, and you are trying to promote the value system in the society. So that is what you will learn in this particular chapter. Okay, all these things are self-explanatory. Probity in governance. Why public service? Governance, right to information. Normally what we teach is what is RTI, what is code of ethics, code of conduct, citizen charter, work culture. But most people miss the For example, the other day I was telling you what is citizen charter. Citizen charter is a static topic. Like they will mention a time frame. Like you have to get these things done in this amount of time. So normally what will students do? Students will replicate the same concept. So if I'm an IAS officer, what will I do? I will promise these things. I will add a phone number. I will add an email ID. I will add a QR code, so on and so forth. But what they miss is value system. Your job is not to create a citizen charter. Your job is to help the society, promote welfare maximization. So are you creating the citizen charter for welfare maximization, or are you creating the citizen charter for the sake of creating a citizen charter? Let's imagine this is a road. Okay, so I told department A two things. What two things? On Monday you dig a hole. Okay, on Wednesday you fill the hole. Okay, or a ditch. So what will department A do? On Monday they will come dig a hole. Okay, so I told the department B that on Tuesday so what did I tell department B? On Tuesday plant a tree. Okay, so you are bounded by rules and regulations. So what will happen? Monday there was a heavy rain. Department B did not work. So what do you think will happen? Commonsensically, what should happen? So Monday department dug a hole. Wednesday they will fill the hole. Did they do their job? Technically they have 100% fulfilled their job. But what is the entire purpose? To plant a tree. Is there a tree? No. Why? Department B did not work on Tuesday. Simple logic, right? So is there any illegal activity there? Bounded. 100% rule and regulations have been followed. Monday I dug a hole. Tuesday I didn't do anything. Wednesday I filled a hole. You told me to dig a hole. No issues. Okay. But what is missing? Yes or no? Can I blame you? Did you do corruption? No. Did you waste public money? No. I have planned it. So my job is to dig a hole and fill a hole. That's all. Okay. I have nothing to do with the outcome. Yes. But if you have the value system, at least you will use your common sense. Yes or no? So this is how things are at the grassroots level. Not this brutal, but just letting you know that when you do things, it's just like this. I'm doing it for the sake of rules and regulations. I'm not thinking in the convergence fashion. I'm not thinking in the outcome based fashion. Okay. You're supposed to give pension to all the people above age of 70 in your district. All the poor people. All the poor people above the age of 70 should get pension from your district collector office or something like that. Then what will happen? They may not have the documents. They may not have ID proofs. They may be from different districts. So there will be a lot of problems. The sons or daughters might have kicked them out. They are destitutes. So if you purely go by rule book, okay, you will hardly give pension to only 20% of the population or 20% of the deserving 70 plus age group. What about the rest of the 80%? There you cannot break the rules. So again, I'm not saying you should break the rules. Okay, if an officer says you cannot give, you cannot give. Okay, but your value system drives you on how to help this 80%. Helping them within your limited capacity as a district collector or an administrator or as a public servant, and making sure that you are not breaking the rules is the balance that UPSC is expecting from you. You have to help them. You have to at least think that I should help them. At the same time, you should not break the rule. The other day I told you, right? If you keep on giving your money to one person, what will happen? The next day, 10 more people will come. You cannot, compassionate, sir. I'm the next Mother Teresa. I will take her to my house. Okay, your house will become an ashram within 1 week. Okay, if you are happy with it, I don't have any problems. But the thing is, how many people will you help like that? Unless you have a lifetime to spend on the same thing. So you cannot help someone with your own individual money. You can help them, but there will be a limitation. Next day, 365 days, you will find a different person to be helped. Just think about it. Every day, so many people will come to your office with a lot of problems. One day you give 5,000 rupees. Next day, after that, you have to rob a bank. Yes. So that is where you draw the line. That is where you bring the creative thought process. At least the intention is to help. People will react in two ways. One is become apathetical. That means they will stop feeling any emotions whatsoever for such kind of people. Every day I see so many cases. How many people will I help? Let them wait. Yeah, she is not eligible. Okay, she is not eligible. I will only focus on 20%. This is the initial reaction. Then there is a compassionate reaction, the value system driven, like I will take the help of civil society, NGO, so on and so forth, at least for writing sake. You get the idea, right? So two different things. Clear? Yes. Work culture. For example, just as an example sake, you are working in a government office. Okay, all the people are like you are at the age of 24, joined as an IAS officer. all the employees are around the age of 50-55 year father age. Okay, so all of them are very lethargic. They are used to a certain system. They will come, sit, relax, they will slowly work. Have you seen the movie Zootopia? Zootopia animation movie. Okay, don't worry. It will be a wonderful example. There is a sloth. Sloth is an animal, you know, right? Sloth bear. It is a clerk. It's a clerk. So it will be very slow. Okay, so you have to watch that movie. When you watch that movie, it will make more sense. Zootopia. Okay, it's one of the most funniest scenes. So I'm not saying that all government departments are very lethargic, but there are people who are used to a certain culture. They gossip a lot. They have informal culture. They are used to a certain system, and that work culture is not healthy. For example, they discriminate against a particular honest officer. You understand, right? Umang is a honest officer. All of you are colluding against her. Or Sumant is a honest officer. All of you have a hatred towards him. You create a toxic culture. You create a culture where nobody will actually come and complain or do anything because they are afraid of punishments. So such kind of work culture is toxic. It is dangerous for the organization. So what are its implications? Right? So yesterday I have seen a case study where there is a line, your colleagues are pressurizing you. That is also a work culture. The work culture is supposed to work for organization, not for individual benefits. When I'm a part of a government department, my work is to serve the people as per Constitution of India and for government, not for saving each other. So that work culture is a very, very important. So the more you understand in depth the application part of all these things, it's easy for you to bring out the case studies or address them in the case studies or bring out the proper words. Utilization of public funds. This is one more example for utilization of public funds. For example, CAMPA. I told you, right? CAMPA, compensatory afforestation fund. What happened? Somebody at the top told you have to plant the trees on the roadside. What did they do? They did, all the roadsides were full with trees. So first cut the trees, okay, then plant the trees. Okay, this has actually happened. Okay, so that is unfortunate scenario. I won't blame anyone in the government department because they didn't prepare for UPSC. They don't know what is all these things. So grassroots level employee is not supposed to be smart. It is the leader who has to convey probably the communication failure or whatever must have happened. So like this, each and every term has its own reason for its existence. And if you have noticed, everything will speak to everything. Education system will help you in integrity, emotional intelligence, something else will work for something else. So there is no topic which works in isolation. Yes, in every answer, all the topics will come into a role. Your attitude as an administrator will come into a role. Your emotional intelligence as an administrator will come into a role. Okay, your value system will come into a role. Your spiritual, I mean, your socialization will come into a role. For example, if you are from a secular family, okay, automatically the value system flows into your answer writing. Right? So no case study can be dealt in isolation. In a case study, you have to bring emotional intelligence, attitude, aptitude, all those things, value systems. At the same time, common sense. So common sense is an outcome of all the inputs. So only when you read all the chapters, only when you understand the each and every word and essence, not in definition. When you understand each and every word in essence, that is when you bring a fantastic answer onto the paper, and answer will come to you naturally. Okay, because when you have that thought process, automatically that answer will be put onto the paper. But if you understand any word in technical definition, for example, emotional intelligence is managing my own emotions while managing others. If that is the thing you learn, then application part won't come to you easily. Clear? So ethics is all about applying the knowledge, each and everything. So you can take the help of movies, stories, leaders, and your real life observation. Then churn it and make it into a even better answer. The more organic your answer, the better your scores. The more original your answer, the better your scores. There is a potential to get up to 130 in ethics. So if the average score in GS papers is 90, 95, you can score up to 130 only in ethics paper. So ethics, optional, and essay can help you land in the interview list. So, and both essay and ethics preparation is organic. The more you observe the society, the more you imbibe the value system, automatically the better your answer writing will be. The more you mug up, the less your scores. More you apply, the better. Even DK Balaji got 120 with pure application of common sense. You can read his post, DK Balaji ethics strategy. He says the same thing more or less. You have to apply. This year topper 123, some 123rd rank, he got 120 or 123 something in ethics. Okay, he also says the same thing. Everybody with good scores in essay or ethics will say you the same thing. It's not some special preparation that they got marks. It's the application of the existing knowledge. In paper 2, paper 3, all you have to do is reproduce the content. Urban flooding, these are the reasons. This is this. There is no value system there. It's pure data. But in essay paper and ethics paper, you have an opportunity to showcase your true self. That is what makes it more interesting. Yes, everybody have access to DK Balaji, right? So everybody will read the same book, everybody will write the same examples, everybody will get the 90s. It's not a big deal to get 90 in ethics paper. The deal is to cross 120. Just imagine 30 mark edge over others in just one GS paper. 360s will turn into 390s. And there are people who got 500 in GS alone. Pratham Kaushik, I think 5th ranker 2019, he got 501 or something in ethics GS papers. All combined in 4 GS papers, he got 500 marks. If you get 270 or 275 in optional, and then even 140 in essay, he will be in top 20 by default. And a good interview score will make sure that he land in top 10. And that is exactly how he landed in 5th rank. Right? So there is a huge potential to maximize the scores in ethics papers. And in a scaling year, like the last year, Shubham Kumar batch, not Shubham Kumar, before that, 160s were given in ethics paper. So normal year 130 is 116 is scaled year. So scaling means they will keep increasing the marks. So it keeps on. Thing to do is bring lot of examples, movies. For example, there is a novel called as, or a story called as Sophie's Choice, right? So, are good examples. Lot of movies. You can bring all such examples and put it onto the paper. You can read biographies if you are interested. If you don't have time, you can read summaries of the life of great people. There is also Sunil Kilhani's 50 leaders that inspired India. There is a podcast. There is a book, 50 leaders who inspired India. You can read biography of Gandhi if you are interested, or you can read certain Yojana magazines to bring better, right? And to write better ethics answers, you also need to have good society knowledge. So Indian society will also help you write good ethics answers, right? So I'll try to discuss all these points one by one. We'll soon start full-fledged ethics classes, but I want you to have some basic knowledge first. I don't want you to, depend on me. I want you to develop that thought process on your own. Spoon feeding is the worst thing that I can do in ethics papers.
Culture you have explained. In the example, is like no one will be talking with you. You have to get the things done by them. That is the example. That is very difficult.
No, that is exactly the point.
Like they will not listen to you, and you have to make them work for you. How it is possible?
That is the challenge of being an administrator, right? Your own peon won't help you. You have to depend on peons. He won't get the file in the right time. He'll say, go and get the file. He will come after half an hour. What happened? He was not giving. What will I do? You cannot shout on them, right? So it's that is emotional intelligence. That is where emotional intelligence will come into the picture. That is where persuasion will come into the picture. That is where, that is what makes you or breaks you, right? So you'll become a better administrator with all these things. Clear? Application, in the sense how it applies to various situations. So read that 7th chapter slowly. You'll understand 7th and 1st chapters slowly. It will make sense. Have you started, anyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 1 hour a day. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Right. So 1 hour of ethics is more than enough for you at this present stage. Why? It's not going to help you an iota in prelims. So I don't want you to invest too much time. At the same time, I don't want you to feel it as a burden. Both can happen simultaneously. 1 hour a day of ethics is good enough. We have all the time in the world, right? Luckily, we are not some North Indian faculty, so we have lot of time daily. Yes. Anything else? Any questions? I got cough. No, course of action for next 5 months. Umang will tell us.
So I'm so sorry.
You can't. Why? June 5th only, right? So that is something that is suggested. Full length test. FLTs are full length test. UPS is simple but not easy, right? It is 2 minutes for me. It takes 2 minutes for me to chalk out a strategy. It takes a huge amount of time for you to implement it. Yes.
So we have said that we can complete the NCR test
By December 31st. Did you?
Yes, they will be completed by December 31st, but only 1 month is there to study all the static books, like standard books.
So you're already done with the classes also, right?
Okay.
It's not like, Lakshmikant will have something else, Kanishk sir will teach something else. Both of them are same thing. So application, right? So whatever you have learned in Neeraj Sharma sir's class will be there in economy textbook or economy class notes. So whatever is comfortable for you.
Okay.
So in that sense, you are done with at least some subjects. Okay. And the first and most important thing you need to learn is it won't work for all of you. Everybody needs a tailor-suited strategy. This is a macro strategy. Everybody will have their own strengths and weaknesses. So don't blindly follow this. This is a macro template. Micro template is playing to your own strengths and weaknesses. So what is subject-wise mock? The importance of subject-wise mock is you can read Lakshmikant as Lakshmikant, or you can read Lakshmikant through 1000 MCQs. Both are same. The ultimate concept is learning. The ultimate concept is for you to know what is there in Indian polity. It doesn't matter whether you learn it only by books or through solving MCQ. For example, I don't know what is the power of Election Commission of India, or what kind of questions will come on Election Commission of India. I will do previous year questions, or I will do sectional tests. Okay, so here also I don't recommend doing tests as tests. For example, if it's not working for you, you will see a question number 1. Election Commission of India's appointment is not mentioned in the Constitution. Okay, the removal of Election Commissioner of India is mentioned in Constitution. So like this, I will see a question. I will think. I must have read Lakshmikant. At least I will think. I don't know. I will immediately see the answer. Explanation then and there only. So explanation is also sourced from some standard sort textbook, right? So question number 1, Election Commissioner of India. I know the question. I thought, I applied my brain. I brought all my accumulated knowledge. Then I saw the explanation. I move on to the next question. Like this is also doing a mock test. Okay, not only like 1A, 2B, 3C. In the end, I will take the model answer. I got 40. That's totally useless. Scores are useless. You can throw the scoring model into the nearest dustbin and be happy. Okay, the thing there is to learn. If anybody comes and tell you I got 60, how much did you get? I will tell Kalyan sir. Okay, so that should be a response. If anybody does that overaction, like I got this much score, how much are you scoring? Tell them Kalyan sir said you are the most useless person in the entire class. Okay, tell them directly that. Okay, because everybody is listening, right? So nobody should dare to say the same thing. But if still anybody is doing that, tell him on his or her face that you are a useless person. No, don't worry. Okay, they will cry in their own rooms. So the best thing is I'm learning. Tell them I'm learning. My job is not to test my scores. My job is to learn. So for institute's sake, for understanding sake, they might give you scores. You are scoring 40, 60. That is for your own personal idea. But that is not a benchmark. Marks are not your real potential. Okay, it doesn't matter. The best thing is you don't know what is Election Commissioner of India. You learned Election Commissioner of India on February 20. Okay, on June 5th, similar question came and you got it correct. So that is the ultimate job. On June 5th, whether you are getting that question correct or not is what matters, not on February 20. You are topper of the batch on February 20, but you got that question wrong on June 5th. What is the point? Oh, you are DFI topper. Okay. I will make you a plaque. You put it on your home. I am DFI topper, but I failed prelims. Okay. So it does not make any difference in your life. Okay. So learning is more important. You do it as a test and test yourself, or question and answer. The ultimate point is if you do 1000 questions like this, your polity is good. At least you know all the important things in polity. So you can do it 50 questions per day. 50 questions of polity in morning, 50 questions of economy in the evening. Right? So if you do 100 questions a day, you are learning 100 topics. Monday to Friday, Monday to Saturday, you do 600 questions. On Sunday, you consolidate them. You revise them again. So on Sunday, you are revising 600 questions. Very, very quickly, you can do that. Why? What the same questions you have done on Monday to Friday. Don't spend more than 3 hours on a particular paper. So if you are doing 50 questions, 3 hours max. Maximum is 3 hours. Slowly, you should be able to do 100 questions in 3 hours. You see the question, think. The most important bridge is thinking. I saw the question, I saw the explanation. That is not the purpose. I saw the question, I was able to use my brain. I created a logic. Ganga is originating in something. Ganga is not there, right? At least you should be able to link. Why is Ganga there? Ganga is not there. It has no link to Ganga. So at least your existing knowledge should be fired up. Okay. So the journey is the reward. Right? If they say equator impacts, the tides. At least you should be able to think equator is a calm belt, more or less there is some calm belt. So you will think, right? So that application, bringing in the existing knowledge is more important. So do 50 questions. While doing every question, also use your brain. Think more. Then say, I will put C. Whether C is correct or not. No, it's okay. I made a mistake. I made a silly mistake. What is the mistake? I read the explanation. I will move on to the next question. And again, every person in this class will do this in his own his or her style. Okay, not everybody will do the same thing in the way I am saying it, because common sense is something that cannot be taught. Okay, even in the previous batches also I told the same thing. They took 6 hours, 7 hours per 100 questions. God can only save you, right? And they haven't cleared prelims as usual. Why? If you cannot consolidate your knowledge in 3 hours, obviously it's a mistake on your part. If you are spending 5 hours a day just on 100 questions, then you are not doing the things correctly. You are doing overaction or something wrong. The concept is to think something and find the missing link. Common sense is what is going to save you. Okay, so that's the best way to learn questions. 1000 questions per subject. If you can do 8000 questions, done. This 1000 questions can come from institute test or different institute test, previous questions, mock test. Anything is fine, right? And this is available to everyone. Everybody have same book, same institute test, same previous question books. But why still people fail to clear prelims is something that I will leave to your own common sense. Clear? So take a question, start thinking, then check the answer. You understand why you got it correct or why you got it wrong. Which weird logic that you applied clicked. You must have applied some crazy logic, but that logic clicked. Okay, then that is a good thought process. The ultimate thing is for that crazy logic to be developed. The more logics you develop, the better for your understanding.
So should we note down the crazy logic that we got it?
Imbibe them rather than noting down. Imbibing them is more important, because in the exam hall, you don't know this logic, that logic, and some other logic might come and help you in the exam hall.
Like how to imbibe that knowledge within the next second.
Next question also it might help you. See,
Like we should remember.
first of all, you need to know at least Ganga is a North Indian river. Okay, so then you will apply that logic. Okay, and you'll think Yamuna is on that side, Ganga is here. Okay, or Brahmaputra is there. So your existing knowledge will be brought into the front. So the more clear your existing knowledge is, the more stronger your static part is, the better your ability to recollect your static knowledge, the stronger you can eliminate the options. Right? So that is why I keep saying static knowledge is king. Static knowledge is everything. The more static knowledge you have, the better your eliminations will be. Without static knowledge, you cannot succeed. To develop static knowledge, spend the time on previous questions, then take subject-wise mocks. Okay, as I said, nobody will have the same strategy. No two people will clear the UPSC in the same style. Everybody has to find their own voice. What is working for me? Reading is essential. After reading, application of knowledge is more important. Read Lakshmikant once, then do questions, then again read Lakshmikant. It might help you in a better way. So as time progresses, we will see how it goes.